Right. Well, Cambridge Analytica started as a company called SCL. SCL is a British-based military PSYOPS organisation. It's connected to the British military and the British military intelligence. It's very cagey about what it does, but it does admit that it's a psychological operations house. Robert Mercer bought into SCL. He basically put a huge amount of money into this military psychological operations company, and they created this firm called Cambridge Analytica, and it's a firm that specialises in data mining and targeting campaign material or propaganda at specific audiences in a manner specifically catered towards the most impact for that specific target group. And basically they hooked up with Aggregate IQ. Aggregate IQ is a data mining company based in Canada. During the run-up to Brexit, Vote Leave, Leave.eu, the DUP and various other people gave huge amounts of money to Aggregate IQ. The reason that's perfectly okay is because Aggregate IQ is Canadian, so it doesn't fall under the purview of the British or European election cycle. You're not allowed to look at their campaign material, the propaganda, the stuff that they've actually been doing. That's perfectly legal. It's a loophole that allows them to do stuff outside of the UK. Robert Mercer just so happens to own the IP address of Aggregate IQ, so it is a definite node of Cambridge Analytica. But as I say, because they're foreign, it can't really be investigated. Now, SCL used to advertise Aggregate IQ as their Canadian branch, but this was basically removed later, although if you phone their Canadian branch number, you still get through to Aggregate IQ. During the run-up to Brexit, Aggregate IQ was paid to micro-target potential voters via propaganda campaigns via Facebook and social media. What's micro-targeting? Micro-targeting is individualised political messages delivered in the most effective manner to cause the most extreme response. Basically, Aggregate IQ built all the software for Cambridge Analytica. SCL, which is the precursor to Cambridge Analytica, has board members from Marconi Defence Systems, British Military Psychological Operations, the US Marines, and it uses military PSYOPS tactics on domestic populations. It's technically a private domestic company, but it's got all these links to elite weapons manufacturers, psychological operations, the Pentagon, and British military. So essentially what Cambridge Analytica and SCL did is they used PSYOP tactics on the public in order to influence their political belief and drive their voting tactics.
Right, let me just interrupt you there, Neil. So would this be via Facebook?
It was entirely via Facebook.
Right, so, okay, so those companies have devised some software that will make appear on your Facebook interaction messages, because they know that you're going to vote this way. Well, they know that you like this, that, or the other. So they're going to target you. They're going to target you with some information to sway your vote. Yeah.
What they did was they bought everybody's data from Twitter, Facebook, and other social media, and then they sent algorithms through this.
So let me ask you this question: they've got data that they've derived from social media. Yeah. The next step is to then use that data in order to manipulate those people. Yeah. Now, how can these private companies put their software into Facebook's own back end?
I'll explain. The goal is to capture every single aspect of a voter's information. So what they do is they spread propaganda and plausible lies, fake news, that type of thing, things that will get you riled up. They take millions of...
You often find this on Facebook. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Vote on this, vote on that. They're constantly fishing for information from you all the time on Facebook.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, basically what they did was they took everyone's information and they examined it. So what pages have you been on? What have you liked? What have you disliked? Let's look at your conversations. Let's see if there's any themes running through this. And they did incredible analysis of this. And
which can be done in software.
Oh yeah, and what they did was they figured out, let's take you, right? We'll look at Richard Hall's Facebook page. what makes Richard angry? Okay, what makes Richard angry is, I don't know, white pieces of A4 paper. Next day, an advert would appear on your Facebook page saying, because we also know that you don't like traffic wardens. Traffic wardens are flooding the UK with white pieces of paper. Do you want this to stop? Then vote Trump.
Yeah.
Vote Brexit.
Yeah. So it's targeting that person.
Micro-targeting.
Micro-targeting, something that person feels passionate about.
Yeah.
And they're saying, well, our candidate will solve your individual problem.
Yeah.
Now, so here's the question, Neil. How can these companies then, how are they allowed to have their software integrated into Facebook software?
They're not allowed to do it. They're allowed to buy the company. Right, okay. Now, here's where it gets strange, because during the beginning...
Sorry, they're allowed to buy which company?
They're not allowed to do this. During the election, basically what happened was they're allowed to buy the data, but they're not allowed to influence it, because this is party political influencing, and this has to be
So how are these companies getting that micro-targeting advert?
Because they did it through Canada, because they did it through aggregate IQ, which means that it can't be investigated. Now, during the beginning of the campaign...
just interrupt you again. So aggregate IQ then... They've got some connection with Facebook then, have they?
No, Aggregate IQ is the Canadian data portion of this data mining company, Cambridge Analytica.
Right.
During the beginning of the campaign, Cambridge Analytica and their chairman and various people were really, really proud that they were on part of the Leave Brexit campaign.
Right.
They says, if this is successful, we're going to apply the same tactics to getting Donald Trump elected. They later admitted that they used micro-targeting, fake news, etc., 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 as a precursor to get Donald Trump into office. Right. Now, it came out during the campaign that this is illegal, because if you're paying this company, you have to declare it, and there's only so much money you're allowed to put into political campaigns, and it's totally illegal. So all of a sudden, Cambridge Analytica turned around and says, oh yeah, no, we did it all for free. In fact, we didn't do anything. In fact, actually, the only reason we did it is because basically Nigel Farage is keen on Brexit, and Robert Mercer's his friend. There's a current, basically, this was exposed in The Observer, and Cambridge Analytica says, well, no, that's completely not true, and we're going to sue you. And The Observer turned around and says, fine, we've got all the quotes. You admitted that you were involved. You can't sue us now. For some reason, nobody's looked into this highly illegal manipulation.
So is there an interface then between Facebook and Aggregate IQ?
No, they just bought all your data.
Yeah, okay, so they've got so Facebook give them a load of data, which enables them to figure out how everyone ticks who's on Facebook. They know what they know what message that person would love to see in order to influence their vote. Yeah. How does that company then get Facebook to put that message on that individual person?
You just set up a SOC account and just send them a message.
All right.
Yeah.
So it involves setting up a whole load of fake Facebook accounts.
Yeah.
Right.
Or just as we were talking about earlier, you put that information out and somebody spreads it, and somebody spreads it, and somebody spreads it. If you're friends with somebody on Facebook, the likelihood is there's 2 or 3 people at least on there that have very similar ideas. So that's a block campaign.
Right. You've answered the question there. They have a whole load of SOC accounts. That they own.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there could be thousands of accounts.
It's connected to also to Palantir, which is Peter Thiel's data mining corporation that's incredibly, is part of this sort of increasing panopticon of total non-privacy. All your information is utilised and is used against you. And as I say, Cambridge Analytica now works directly with the Pentagon.
Do you think that data includes the private messages?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. Everything. There is no privacy on the internet.
So a Canadian company bought from Facebook a whole load of data that are being mined from Facebook, and it includes private messages, say, between me and you or anyone, really? Yeah.
They bought this data and they specifically analysed it to see what makes you angry, and then they found out what makes you angry, and they utilised that to manipulate you into voting a particular way. Nigel Farage, Robert Mercer, Steve Bannon have been friends and colleagues since 2002. Breitbart set up its office in the UK to promote and support UKIP, which is Nigel Farage's thing. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean that basically you voted in the wrong way. It just means, or that you didn't have a good reason for it. It just means that if you voted for Trump or for Brexit, that these millionaires and billionaires that have connections to military psychological operations, the Pentagon, the White House, US military and British military just so happen to want you to vote that way.
Just to interject again, Neil, I have been sent a book by a chap who was at one of my lectures. He's written a book. I forget the name of it. I can put it on the screen. But the central theme in there is that Brexit was engineered in order for some very large business interests to make a whole load of money.
Yep, probably. I said this before. Again, like I have no strong opinion on whether it's good or bad. Voting in Brexit was like being a child and choosing a boarding school. Doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter what you decide. You're going to get screwed by an older, richer person. So that's what it is. Like the DUP gave money to Cambridge Analytica. They're doing quite well now, aren't they? Strange. And they have a similar hideous right-wing ideology.
I described it as deciding which dog turd you're going to stand in.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, that's another way. In the 2050 PR Week, Cambridge Analytica Director of Programme Development, Brittany Casier, stated, Cambridge Analytica only started working with Leave EU more recently. The firm's teams of data scientists and analysts would be enabling targeting messaging by understanding why certain things worry people. Cambridge Analytica, Leave EU confirmed that Cambridge Analytica were helping them map the British electorate. Andy Wigmore explained, a Facebook like was the most potent weapon because using artificial intelligence as we did tells you all sorts of things about that individual and how to convince them with what sort of advert. And you know that there would be other people in their network who liked what they liked, so it could spread. The computer never stops learning and it never stops monitoring. When he was told that was creepy, Andy Wigmore said, yeah, no it is. That's why I'm not on Facebook.
Right. So someone's got a fear of worms and they make that known on Facebook, and then sometime later they get a message saying that Trump's going to sort out all the worms.
In a very, very simple way, So basically people were manipulated by billionaires connected to UK and US military, and they used fear and psyop tactics by mining your data and social media posts through like complete surveillance in order to manipulate your feelings. That's
when you take up a Facebook account, you create it. There's nothing in there that says we have a duty to not pass on your data to a third party.
That's how they make money. That's what Facebook is. Facebook is a data mining. I mean, Peter Tile, who runs Palantir, was the initial financer of Facebook.
But there's nothing in that agreement when you sign up to Facebook to say that the data will stay within Facebook.
No, on the contrary, it's the opposite as far as I'm aware. Yeah.
So when you post private messages on Facebook, folks, Facebook have every right to give it to whoever they want or sell it to whoever they want to for money for political purposes.
Yeah, I mean, we're not even talking about the JTRIG and GCHQ and so this is
private.
This isn't
government spying.
Campaigning.
This isn't government spying. It's private companies doing this.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I believe that they have actually got connections to the government. Yeah. But ostensibly, this is perfectly above board, perfectly legal, and not at all sinister. After the success of Brexit, Cambridge Analytica, basically Robert Mercer said that Brexit was a test to see if the mood was right to get somebody like Trump in, which again leads to my concept that there's a coup of some description going on, whereby basically these people who have a certain ideology want to get their position.
So they used the same tactics to make Brexit win as they did to get Trump in then?
Yeah. After Brexit, they basically decided that they were using in America they admitted doing it. In England, they admitted it and then later denied it. Okay, in America, they admitted that was what was the point. Data mining, micro-targeting, manipulation.
So what about, if we just stay on Brexit a second, what about the viewpoint that joining Europe is a step towards a world government and that the most powerful people on the planet are marching the UK and other countries in Europe to a world government? So surely they would be using those techniques to get us into Europe.
Maybe they would. I don't know. Or say, I don't know. I'm not saying that you made the wrong vote. I'm not saying you made the right vote. All I'm saying is a very specific class of very wealthy people with very specific connections to US military industrial complexes, the Pentagon and British psychological operations wanted you to vote that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is just a level of sophistication so much higher than the guy in the street who used to stop you and say, "Will you be voting Conservative, sir? What is the issue that upsets you the most? Do you want this? That's how they used to do it, isn't it?
It's hidden, it's underhanded. That's the frightening part.
And it could potentially have information that you would never dream of even sharing to anyone, isn't it?
Oh, totally, so, absolutely, totally. I mean, this is totally the problem with it. But this is not the first time that something like this has happened as well, right? Okay, it's slightly different, but this is what I was trying to explain. If they will do this in Australia, very wealthy people have got agendas, and they'll do it in Europe, and they'll do it in America, and they'll do it in England as well. And again, it's not to criticise anyone that's voting in a particular way. It's just curious that these people wanted you to vote in that way.
I mean, another point perhaps to make, Neil, is that there's only a certain percentage of people that are on Facebook. A lot of people who are, say, on Facebook, they might use it once a month. They're not regular users. So this has been done only using a section of the population.
Don't think they're on Twitter, you don't think they're on 4chan, don't think they're on Reddit, don't think they're on 8chan. Okay, and with some of those, 4chan, for example, you preach to the converted. It takes a very small amount to get somebody in the perfect way. We've just found out about this, okay? Because they admitted it in America and got caught out in England. So, yeah, I'm sure you're absolutely right. It's only very, that's not the broadest spectrum.
Generally, you're younger voter, isn't
it?
Yeah,
absolutely. But, get them young. Yeah. Indoctrinate them, and it's very difficult to change their views.